for exam, right? Okay, now we shall move on to the methods of excreta disposal, right? Excreta disposal. In this particular excreta disposal methods, we are overall having the two methods, right? Two areas. One is the unsewered areas, right? And another one is the sewered areas, right? Sewered areas. So over here, let's talk about now, in this category, let's talk about the methods of excreta disposal, okay? Methods of excreta disposal. Right, so now let's talk about the methods of excreta disposal, guys, right? So here we are having two particular methods. So first one is the, right, here we are having two particular methods, right? In this case, we are talking about, one is the unsewered areas, and on the different side, on the other side, we shall talk about the sewered areas, right? About these two methods we'll be talking separately, but for now, let me take the unsewered areas method, right? Unsewered areas, right? And then we'll be talking about the sewered areas as well. In the unsewered areas, guys, again we shall have the two subcategories over here, right? So one could be the non-service type and other one could be the service type. So one could be the non-service type over here, non-service type category, and one other one could be the service type category, right? So one is the non-service type category and another one could be the service type category. Again, these are the methods which we are talking about in the unsewered areas of excreta disposal methods, right? Now in the service type, guys, this is the conservancy system. This is actually the conservancy system, right? It is not used anymore, because in this particular method what we used to do is, or what they used to do is, basically they were actually collecting the night soil manually, right? They were collecting the night soil and they were disposing it off by the burying methods, okay, or the composting method. So they will be going home to home and they will be, collecting the night soil and they will be disposing it off by the method of burying method or the composting method, which I told you for the Bangalore method. So by those kind of method, they were usually just disposing it off, but it is not used anymore now, right? This is the conservancy system. Now service type we are not using these days we shall be using the non-service type. In the non-service type also we are having several categories which we shall talk about right now. In the non-service type, right, what categories we are talking about? In non-service type, this is also called as the sanitary latrines, right? Sanitary latrine, and literally these words are actually used by your textbooks as well, so that's why I'm using as well, right? So sanitary latrines, right, if you are talking about these methods, right, we are having several kinds of methods over here in this particular category itself. The first one which we shall talk about, that is the borehole, right? Not the borehole, I would say the borehole latrine. Second one over here which we shall talk about, that is the dug well or pit latrine. Third one which we shall talk about, that is the water seal or watertight water seal latrine, okay. Fourth one which we shall talk about, that is your septic tanks, okay. Don't worry, we'll be talking about all of them in detail, okay. Right now I'm just naming them. And the fifth one which we shall talk about, that is the aqua privae, right? Aqua privae, okay. So these are the methods which we shall talk about in the category of non-service type of excreta disposal methods, right? And we are again talking about the unsewered areas, not the sewered one. Sewered one I will talk about separately after that. So now guys, let me take on one by one these methods, okay. So now let's I'm just starting with the borehole latrine method, okay, right. So first one, let me start with the very first one, that is the borehole method, okay. Borehole latrines, okay, this method. Fine. In this particular method, what we are doing, basically this is also the older method, guys, and it is not used anymore. First of all, you should remember that it is not used. So old method, okay, and it is not used anymore. And in this method, what we used to do, not used anymore, okay. Basically in this category, they used to make a borehole over there, and in this borehole we used to have the land width of around for about 12 inches and depth of around 4 to 8 meter, the height over there. So I'm writing it over here as well, that width was around 12 inches and the height of it was used to be around 4 to 8 meters, right? And it was adequate for about 5 to 6 persons per year, right? It was adequate or useful for around 5 to 6 persons per year. But to dig that particular borehole, right, we actually used to need one special kind of instrument, and the name of that instrument was actually auger, right? So there was a special instrument, AUGER, right? I'm writing it under quotations. So there was an instrument named as auger, right? And this instrument was a special instrument. This was a special instrument, right? This was actually the special instrument which was used to dig borehole, right? So it was not easily available, right? That's why this method was not popular. And secondly, over here, right, actually it was used for protecting by some kind of used to get protection from some kind of methods over there, some kind of infections, but it was not used anymore because of its more disadvantages, and one of the disadvantages was the auger, right? It was not readily available over there, right? So what are the important points? What you need to remember, that it was adequate for 5 to 6 persons per year, but not used anymore these days, and having the height for around 4 to 8 meters and width of around 12 inches, right? Okay, now next method which we shall talk about over here, this picture you shall remember that can be actually used for these methods. So this is the borehole method picture, right? Over here what we can see that there is a shelter over that, and there is a slab with the drop hole, right? And here the poop will be coming out and it will be going and collecting it over here, right? So this is the method which we are talking about. This is the borehole method, right? Okay, so this is the borehole method, guys. Now we shall talk about one more method, the next one which we shall talk about over here, that is the dug well, right? That is a dug well or the pit latrine method. So second one, let's talk about that now. Second method, dug well or pit latrine, right? Okay, so in this particular method what we are saying that here this is exclusively used for the excreta only, not for any other kind of waste. So that is kind of a important point which you need to remember, that exclusively we are using it for, or it can be used for the better efficiency of the system, exclusively used for only excreta, right? But no other waste, right? That is the thing. So for the better efficiency of this system, only the excreta has to be used, but not the any other system, right? Next point over here is that the width of this particular method, that should be around 30 inches and the height should be around 3 to 4 meters, right? So the width and the height, right? Two things which you need to keep in mind. So the width over here, it should be around 30 inches and the height should be around 3 to 4 meters. Okay, height should be around 3 to 4 meters, right? Okay, next method over here which we shall talk about, that is the water seal method. Remember, so that is the water seal method. Third one is the water seal method. In the water seal method, right, so let me show you the dug well picture also, right? Let me just cover it there itself. Yeah, so this is the picture which we shall talk about. So here you can see that it is kind of a dug well method, right? Dug well or pit method over here. So the fecal matter will be collecting it at the end, right? So this is what method? Dug well method, right? In case if they are asking you by the picture, right? Okay, so in the water seal method, guys, here we are talking about some of the examples or some of the types which we shall talk about over here, right? What are these particular types which they are usually asking us in the exams also, right? So we shall talk about them. So the very first one, okay, I'm writing it with ABC. So very first one which we are talking about over here, that is the planning, research and action institute, that is a PRI and action institute, right? And that is the PRAI in short, that is abbreviated as PRI. Okay, dry latrine, right? Okay, second one over here we are talking about, that is the research come action project latrine, right? So this is basically the project of RCA, right? RCA, we'll talk about that. And the last one is the Sulabh Shauchalaya, right? Sulabh Shauchalaya. Okay, so these are the three methods which we will be actually talking about over here. Okay, here are the picture which we shall talk about in the Sulabh Shauchalaya, right? Yeah, this one. So here what we can see, that it was the invention of a Patna based firm, right? Here you can see the two pits formation are present over there, right? So it is specifically designed pen. You can see the pen over here, specially designed pen and water seal trap, and it is actually connected to a 3 square feet pit. Actually these are the pit actually which we are talking about right now, right? The two pits are over here. So two pits are present over here which is connecting to a pan, right? So this is the Sulabh Shauchalaya system, and it's cut to 3 square feet is the area over there, and it is actually the Sulabh Shauchalaya concept, right? Okay, so it was a Patna based firm, right? Once you have talked about that, now let me talk about the features of this particular features of the particular water seal method. So what are the features? So that is very important for us to discuss about, because very commonly they are asking us the features of the water seal method. So actually we are talking about in this case that what is the location, what should be the location for this particular method, and there are several components of this system, right, which we need to talk about. So very first one over here which I'm talking right now, that is the location of this particular program, water seal method, location of this method. So location, it should not be closer than 15 meter from the any kind of water source, because it can disinfect the water sources. So that's why for prevention of the disinfection, right, basically we are talking about that they should be kept more than 15 meter away from the water sources. So obviously please remember that for more than 15 meter away from water sources. Okay, so that will be our ideal location, water sources, that will be our ideal location. Second point over here which we need to discuss, right, that is your squatting plate, right? Squatting plate, usually these are these kind of plates only, these are squatting plates, and in the squatting plates basically we are talking about that they are actually allowing the water drainage, right? So basically they allow us for the water drainage. So it actually allows the water drainage, right? Third point over here, third component which I will tell, that is the pan, right? It actually receives the night soil or the urine or the water. Okay, so these kind of things. So it receives urine or the fecal matter, that is the night soil. Okay, so that is the thing, right? That is a pan. Okay, fourth component of the water seal system, that is the trap, right? In the trap we are talking about that the water is actually holding over there. In the trap the water holding system is there and it provides the water seal. So what's providing the water seal in this system? That is a trap only, right? Second thing is that a good trap, that will be actually having the effective seal of around 2 to 2.5 centimeters. So that was the MCQ once they had asked us. So actually the trap, if we talk about here, we are saying that it holds the water, and it provides the water seal, So it's a very important component of this water seal system, right? It's a very important component of this water seal method. And over here itself we are saying that, I will change the color over here to emphasize this point, that if the trap has to be efficient, right? So a good well efficient trap should be having the effective seal of around 2 to 2.5 centimeter, and that was a MCQ. So a good trap, I will say, good trap should have the efficiency as effective seal of around 2 to 2.5 centimeters. Okay, please remember that, and that was the MCQ once they had asked us. Okay, now next point over here is after the trap which we shall talk about, that is the connecting pipe. that is the connecting pipe. Okay, connecting pipe. In the connecting pipe, what is actually happening? There could be the direct type and there could be the indirect type, right? So connecting pipe is actually indirect type. It is actually present in the indirect type and it is actually absent in the direct type. That is also only the thing which you need to remember in this case. And now I'm coming to the dug well right now. Sixth one is the dug well, right? Dug well actually has to be changed. Once it will be filled, it has to be changed, right? Has to be changed once filled. Okay, now we shall talk about the next one, next particular method after the water seal method. Okay, let me just brief the water seal method. We are having three important examples in this case. One is the RCA method, Sulabh Sochale, and the PRI Institute, that is the Planning, Research and the Action Institute, right? Here the features actually are that what is the location of this water seal system, then the squatting plate and the pen, then there should be a trap, connecting pipe and the dug well, right? So the points which I need to discuss, I have already discussed. The squatting plate actually it is actually allowing the water drainage, right? Then pan is actually receiving the urine and the night soil and the water. Trap will be actually holding the water and it will be providing the water seal. If you talk about the water seal, good efficient water seal will be called as that a good trap will be called whenever it will be having the effective seal for around 2 to 2.5 centimeter when connecting well and the dug well is present over there. Now we shall talk about the next point, that is the septic tank, right? So next method which we shall talk about, that will be the fourth method over here, right? So the fourth method over here, that will be the septic tank. Okay, septic tank. So let's talk about the septic tank also. In the septic tank, basically, let me talk about some very important salient features of the septic tank, right? This is actually the watertight tank. Okay, this is the watertight tank in which household sewage comes for the treatment part, right? So this is a household sewage and the sewage from the household, it will be coming into this particular tank. It can be the single layer tank or it can be the double layer tank as well. So in which the household sewage will be admitted for treatment or will be coming for treatment, right? Household sewage will be comes for the treatment. Okay, second point, it is not used for the large areas people or the large population. It is not recommended for the larger communities. Not recommended for larger communities. Okay, please do remember that as well. It is not recommended for the larger communities. Okay, now what is the design of this particular tank? Okay, let's talk about the design of this particular tank, right? Here this could be the, as I told you, that it could be the single or the double chambered tank. Okay, it could be the single or the double chambered septic tank, right? Next point over here is that usually the minimum capacity for this particular septic tank is around 500 gallon for a house or 500 gallon per household. So the capacity, if you talk about, usually that will be around 500 gallons per house. Okay, these are your very important question, guys. Okay, these are your one liners which shall be asked from this particular septic tank topic, right? Next point which I want to cover it over here, that length. If you talk about the length and if you talk about the depth of this particular tank, length is of this particular tank is actually twice of its breadth and height is usually, or the depth is usually 1.5 to 2 meter over here. So if you talk about the depth, it is around 1.5 to 2 meters, right? If you talk about the depth of liquid, if they're asking you, two questions might be asked: depth of a tank and depth of liquid. Depth of liquid will be around 1.2 meters. Okay, please do remember that. And the length is usually twice of its breadth. Length can be usually twice of its breadth of the septic tank, right? If you talk about this particular septic tank, right, it has one inlet and one outlet, right? And the retention period for this particular tank is around 24 hours or 1 day. So here I'm just mentioning that retention period of this tank retention period of this tank will be around 24 hours. And this is also the MCQs, guys. This is also the MCQ which has already been asked. This is the septic tank, guys. This is a septic tank in front of you. Here what you can see, this is the inlet which I was talking about, and this is the outlet. So it is having one inlet and one outlet. Then over here you can see these are the inspection pipe, and here the manhole cover is present over there. Okay, now what you will see is, here I told you that the height of the waste water, if I tell you, then it is around 1.2 meter, right? 1.2 meter, and 1.5 to 2 meter I told you overall height of the depth. Okay, overall depth of this tank. Here what you can see, the sludge is actually collecting at the bottom of this particular septic tank, and the scum will be actually flowing on the water, which will be actually floating over the water, and still there will be some space which will be present between the scum and the cover of it, right? That is also the point which you need to remember, right? And then as such, what will happen, the scum will be actually the waste will be coming like that, it will be coming into the tank, right? The sludge will be actually remaining, it will be coming to the bottom, and then at last the wastewater will be coming like that, and through the outlet it will be going outside, right? So this is the thing, this is that's how the things are working in this particular tank. Okay, so once we are clear with the septic tank, okay, one more thing I would like to mention about it, that how the working is actually happening in this particular tank, right? Actually what happens is, sludge is actually settling down and scum is actually flowing at the surface. As you can see in this particular image also, scum is actually flowing on the surface and sludge is actually getting down. The fecal matter excreta will be actually depositing on the bottom of the septic tank. Next thing over here is, the liquid can also be called as the effluent, right? I will use a different color. Liquid can be also called as the effluent over here, right? That is nothing but the liquid only. As you can see here with the L, I am showing you the liquid. So it will be effluent, will be actually flowing out through the outlet pipe from time to time gradually, right? And two important questions they are asking us. One is the anaerobic digestion and the aerobic oxidation. In this particular tank, the anaerobic digestion is actually happening inside the tank. So important point which I am mentioning over here is that anaerobic digestion is happening inside the tank only. Anaerobic digestion is happening inside the tank, and aerobic followed by that, aerobic digestion will be happening, or aerobic oxidation will be happening outside the tank. What I said over here is, guys, please remember this point, note that I am writing it with black color, that anaerobic digestion is taking place inside the tank, is taking place inside septic tank. Okay, inside septic tank. Followed by that, what will happen? Followed by that, aerobic oxidation will happen. Aerobic oxidation will take place inside the tank, outside the tank, outside the septic tank. Very important point, and it has already been asked multiple times, guys. Very important question, that aerobic oxidation is happening where, anaerobic oxidation or anaerobic digestion is happening where. Anaerobic is happening inside the tank, and aerobic oxidation will be happening outside the tank. Very important question, please do not forget that. You need to remember. Next point which I want to highlight over here is that, what about the maintenance part? Here for this particular tank, soap water or the phenols, they must not be used for the cleaning purpose of the septic tank over here. Rather, you should be doing the desludging process once it will be filled up, and once a year it should be cleared off. The desludging process should be used. Okay, so instead of using, so over here one more part over here is, for the maintenance part, what you will be doing for the maintenance part, should be using the soap and all? No, soap, water, right, or phenols, they must not be used for the cleaning purpose. They must not be used. Rather, what you will be doing, you will be using the desludging process. Desludging should be done, or desludging must be done at least every year or once a year. Okay, so desludging has to be done, right, but not the soap water or the phenol usage is not used. So that is also the MCQ. Which of the following statement is correct about this one? Okay, so soap water or phenol should not be used over there. These kind of questions might be asked. Okay, so these points are very, very important as far as septic tank is concerned. Please guys remember them. Okay, they're very easy, but once you will be going through them, it will be actually imprinted in your brain as well, right? Now once we have talked about this particular method, that was your septic tank method. Now we shall talk about the another method after that, that is the aqua privi, right? Aqua privi. So let's talk about that as well. Okay, we'll talk about this picture later on, but now let me talk about the another method. So fifth one, I will call that fifth one, I guess. Yes, so fifth method over here which we shall talk about, that is the aqua privi, right? In the aqua privi, we are saying that it has a complete water in the tank, right? Here what we were seeing, there was no complete water. Here some space was left as far as septic tank diagram is concerned. Still septic tank, we were having some space left over there. This space was left, isn't it? Right? But in the aqua privi, there is not a place left over there. So basically it has a tank, it has a complete water in the tank, and there the anaerobic digestion is happening for the fecal matter, right? Along with that, we are saying that the distance from the water source to the top of the tank is around 1.5 meter. So what the point over here is that it is a tank, right? There is a tank, and it is actually filled up with water. Anaerobic digestion is actually happening in this particular tank, but the point is that from the surface of the water and the top of the tank, there should be a distance for around 1 to 1.5 meter. That much distance should be there, right? That is only the point over here. So distance from water to top of the tank, should be around 1 to 1.5 meter, and that was the question which was asked over here, right, in the aqua privi. Next point which we need to mention over here is that anaerobic digestion is actually taking place. Anaerobic digestion of fecal matter is taking place inside this tank. Okay, please remember this particular MCQ that has been asked. Okay, now guys, once we have talked about all these methods of the excreta disposal and mainly the sewage disposal over here, right? Remember we have talked about the unsewered areas. Yes. So now we have actually talked about the unsewered areas where we have talked about the service type has already not been used now, right? But the non-service type, we have talked about the latrine methods, right? Sanitary latrine methods, and here we have talked about the 5 methods: borehole, dug well, water seal, septic tank, and the aqua privi. And now we shall talk about this category, that is the sewered areas, right? So now let's jump into this particular sewered areas technique as well, right? Okay, so what about the second method, that is the sewered areas, right? Sewered areas. In the sewered areas, basically this is the water carriage system, or we can say that sewage treatment is happening in this particular category. So this is the water carriage system, right? And we are actually learning in this method, about the sewage treatment. Okay, and over here we are going to talk about the two particular treatment process over here. One is the primary treatment and another one is the secondary treatment. In the primary treatment we are having some methods, and in the secondary treatment we are having some methods. But before that, let me just give you one overall idea, right? Briefing about this particular sewage system, that how is it actually working. So here we will be talking about the obviously primary treatment and the secondary treatment. In the primary treatment, first of all, the sewage will be going through the screen. Right? Through the screen, what will be happening? Some metallic object will be filtering out. What will happen? Metallic object, they will be filtering out. Okay. So after in the primary method and in the total sewage system, what I told you, primary method could be there, primary treatment and the secondary treatment. In the primary treatment, first of all, the sewage will be going through what? Screen. In the screening method, what we are doing, through the screen, metallic object will be filtered off. Metallic kind of object, they will be filtered off. So these are the heavy metals, right? They will be filtered off. Then comes the grid chamber, right? There is a communicator, and then comes the grid chamber. through the grid chamber, what will happen? The solid particles will be settling down. Solid particle from the sewage, they will be settling down. As you can see, the solid particle are settling down over there, right? Solid particle will be settling down. After that, what will happen? So in the grid chamber, I can say the solid particle, solids, okay, they will settle down. Okay, they will settle down over there in the which method? In the grid chamber method. After the grid chamber, they will be going through the primary sedimentation tank, right? So here, yeah, they will be going through the primary sedimentation tank. Primary sedimentation tank. Okay, they will be going through the primary sedimentation tank. So this is the primary sedimentation tank, as you can see over here, right? Here, this is the area, this is the primary clarifier which I am right now showing you, right? This is the primary sedimentation tank. And in this primary sedimentation tank, you know, the sewage will be coming and it will be staying for around 6 to 8 hours. It will be staying for around 6 to 8 hours, and then the scum will be formed. Scum will be formed in the form of grease and in the form of fat. It will be floating over the surface. You know, this you can see over here, this is the scum which is actually floating over the surface in the primary sedimentation tank, right? And this is about the primary treatment of the sewage. After that, it will be going through the this one, and then it will be coming to the aeration tank. Okay, I will talk about this aeration tank, that will be covered in this secondary treatment method, but for now I am talking about the primary method. So I just, whatever I have talked about right now, whatever I have talked about, let me just document it in the form of writing also, right? So, you know, I will talk about these pictures in a bit, but for now just forget them. Okay, just forget them. And now let me talk about the primary method. So guys, what I told you, in the sewered areas we are having two methods. One is the primary method, another one is the secondary treatment. So primary treatment, let's talk about that as well. In the primary treatment, we saw that, you know, the sewage will be coming through, and first of all it has to go through the screen. It has to go through the screen. So firstly it will be going through the screen, so I'm writing that over here. Firstly it will be going through the screen, right? Secondly it will be going through the grid chamber. It will be going through the grid chamber. And thirdly, it will be going through what? It will be going through the primary sedimentation tank, right? I told you what is happening in these particular areas as well. I told you that what was happening in the screen. In the screen, what was happening? We were actually filtering out the heavy metal objects, filtering out the metallic objects from there, filtering out the metals, right? In the grid chamber, what was happening? Whatever solids particles were present over there, they will be settling down. So solid particles actually get settled down in the grid chamber, and then finally it will be going through the primary sedimentation tank. What will happen over there? You know, the sewage will be actually it will be staying for around 6 to 8 hours, and during that process it will be during that process the scum which be actually floating over the surface of the water, right? And that is actually the grease kind of thing that will be actually floating, because it becomes lighter in weight, and that's how it will be coming over the surface of the water. So what I am saying is that sewage will be, sewage that will be staying for around 6 to 8 hours over here, and filtering is actually going on in this particular area. Sewage will be present over there for around 6 to 8 hours, and after that, due to that, what will happen? The scum formation happen, right? Scum will be forming over here. Scum forms in the form of grease, right? In form of grease or fat, right? And that's how it will be floating on the surface of water or on the surface of tank. Floats on the top of the tank. As you can see, this could be over here. I will change the color over here, right? For an example, this color, right? That is this color, right? Okay, so this is your what? This is your scum, right? This is your scum formation. This is your scum formation, which is actually there, right? Okay, now we shall talk about the secondary treatment. So over here in this particular picture, I will be talking about secondary treatment. Yeah. So here we shall talk about the secondary treatment. Okay. Secondary treatment. Right. In the secondary treatment, we are having two particular methods. One is the trickling filter method and another one is the activated sludge process. So first of all, let me talk about the trickling filter method, right? First of all, let me talk about the trickling filter method. So A over here, which I'm going to talk about, that is a trickling filter method, right? Trickling filter method. So what is this basically trickling filter method? Okay. In the trickling filter method, what is happening, we are having, it's a bed of kind of a crust stones, right? You can see this is the trickling filter method. Here we are seeing that the sprinklers are present over here, right? Sprinklers, these are the sprinklers over here. They will be sprinkling off, they will be sprinkling the water over here, right? Like that. So sprinklers are present over there, and what they will be doing basically they will be actually spraying the water, right? And over here you can see the filters, right? This area, in this area you can see the filters are present over there, right? So what will happen, that this is actually, the filter is a bed of crust stones, right? This is a bed of crust stones, and the sewage will be coming over there, in the form of the sprinkler form. The water is coming over there, and then it will be spreading over to the filter bed, right? It will be spreading over the filter bed, and after that what will happen, it will be getting oxidized by the bacterial flora. After getting oxidized by the bacterial flora, this oxidized sewage will be actually forming the greenish kind of layer, and that will be called as the humus, right? So what I am saying over here is that the filter is actually present over here. I will be showing you with this color, right? Not the color but the pointer over here, right? And the pointer which you can see over here, I hope you are seeing the pointer. Yeah. So this is the layer of the filter, guys. This is the layer of the filter, or I will show you this color. This is the layer of the filter. I hope you are able to see that, right? Over the layer of filter, you can see the sprinkler will be going on, right? And over this bed of the filter, the effluent will be coming, spreads over the filter bed, and it get oxidized by the bacterial flora. What I'm saying is that there is a bed of filter. So you see this is the sprinkler, and then there is a filter over there, and then there is a feed pipe, and there is a filter support, and all of these things. You don't need to remember this much, but what you need to remember is it is a bed of crust stones. You can see these are the stones present over here. Okay, basically in this thing we are saying that effluent will be coming, which is a sewage. It will be coming and it will be getting spreading off. It actually spreads over the filter, right? Spreads over the filter bed and will be oxidized and get oxidized by the bacterial flora. After getting oxidized by the bacterial flora, it will be actually showing off the color as green material, right? So this oxidized sewage forms the green color material over there. So this oxidized sewage, right, it will be forming the green material, and this green material will be called as the humus, right? Called as the humus. Okay, so this green material will be called as the humus over there. Okay, so that is the thing about the trickling filter method. We are having the next method over there then, right? This is called as the activated sludge process. Activated sludge process, right? Activated sludge process. And in this activated sludge process, what we are basically doing is that the sewage will be going through the first of all this method, that the trickling filter method. After that it will be going through the secondary method. In this method, what is happening, first of all you can see that this tank is present over here and this tank is present over there. So what will happening, from the primary method, what I told you, right? Look at this image, right? This was the primary sedimentation tank. Here what I am saying, this is the primary sedimentation tank. From here the effluent will be going like this and it will be coming into the aeration tank. And from there it will be going to the secondary clarifier, right? And from there some of it was actually going back through this one, right? And actually coming back over here, right? And some of it through it was going back into the primary chamber as well. So what is actually happening over here, the sewage will be settling down in the secondary sedimentation, right? And it will be becoming the activated sludge. right? It will be becoming the activated sludge over here. I am just removing some part of it. What I am saying is simply that some of the effluent will be going over here in the aeration tank. It will be going on. This process will be going on like that, and then it will be coming to the secondary clarifier. Over there, the sludge will be present over there, right? Sludge will be settling down. After settling down of the sludge, this activated sludge will be actually taken back, can be actually taken back into the aeration tank, right? Into the aeration tank over there, right? Or it can be taken back into the aeration tank like this. Okay. Now what will happen? After that, the sewage from the primary tank can be going into the secondary tank. From the secondary tank, it will be going into the primary tank. So what is happening in the activated sludge process? Look over here. In the activated sludge process, what we will be seeing over here is that, this is the aerated tank and this is the secondary tank, right? So from the aerated tank, the effluent will be going into this direction, then it might go back into this direction. So it will be going to this direction, then it will go back into that direction. So from the primary sedimentation tank, it can go into the secondary one. From the secondary, it can go back into the primary one, right? So this process will be, this cycle will be going on, right? So that is the process of activated sludge process. So in the activated sludge process, what I am saying is that, first of all, the sewage will be there. The sewage will be settling down. Sewage, it will be actually settling down in secondary sedimentation tank. In secondary sedimentation tank, and it becomes sludge over there. It becomes what? It becomes the sludge over there, right? And this sludge will be called as the activated sludge. This sludge will be called as activated sludge. Okay, this sludge will which will actually be called as the activated sludge over there, and this activated sludge will be actually taken back into the aeration tank. It will be taken back into the aeration tank. It will be taken back into the aeration tank, right? Once it will be taken back into the aeration tank, from the aeration tank it can go into the primary, then from the primary it can come back into the secondary. So basically what is happening, if this was the primary tank and this was the secondary tank, the sewage will be keep on coming from primary to secondary and from secondary to primary, right? So this process will be going on in the activated sludge process, right? So that's all you need to remember over here. One question which they are generally asking us, that what is the heart of activated sludge process? So the heart of activated sludge process in this all of this process and whole activated sludge process, the heart is the aeration tank. The heart is the aeration tank. Okay, so please do remember that as well, because they have asked this multiple times, that aeration tank is the heart of the of this particular process in the activated sludge process, right? One more thing over here, the final liquid which will be generated over there, right? It will be actually giving to the, they will be actually giving this to the, or it will be going to the agricultural land, or it might be actually used up for further for the fertilization production or the humus production, right? So no waste will be generated during whole of this process, right? So once again guys, so here first of all in the primary treatment we'll be having the sewage, then sewage will be going through the screen. After the screen it will be going through the grid chamber. After the grid chamber it will be coming to the of this particular primary clarifier. After the primary clarifier it will be going to the aeration tank. After the aeration tank it will be going to the secondary chamber. So this is the secondary chamber, this is the primary chamber. From the primary chamber to the aeration tank, from the aeration tank to the secondary chamber, right? And then from the secondary chamber it can go back into the primary chamber, into the aeration tank as well, right? And further some of the effluent will be going through into the water also, right? And here we shall add some of the disinfectant over here as well, right? So this is about the primary treatment. Secondary treatment, the second treatment we have also talked about the trickling method, that was the trickling filter method, and the activated sludge process, right? So that was about the primary and the secondary method in the category of the seaward area, right? So it is very, very important. So in this particular chapter or session, right guys, what we have talked about, the wastage disposal, right? And the municipal wastage disposal, right? There I told you that we might be having the solid waste and we might be having the liquid waste. What are the methods of excreta disposal, right? We have talked about in this chapter. What are the methods of disposal of the solid waste? What are the methods of disposal of the liquid waste? So that was the purpose of this particular session, right? Please go through this session at least 1 or 2 times and then try to solve some MCQs out of this. I hope you will be able to solve them. Thank you.